Welcome back to PlayStation Corner. My name is Alex and today we're going to be taking a look at a Plague Tale Innocence on the PS5. With the release of this PS5 upgrade, not only do I want to give you, an overview of the game itself, but also, is this PS5 upgrade truly a noticeable difference? So think the graphics, the DualSense implementation, and then of course the frame rate. So with that luck, hit subscribe, join our growing PlayStation family, and let's get started. The story on this follows the tale of Amicia and her younger brother Hugo. They are on the run, not only from rats that are transmitting the plague, they present kind of the main foe of the gameplay, but also the Inquisition, these soldiers that are out to kill you both. These soldiers, they also just happen to slaughter your home and parents in the opening moments of the game, adding, let's say, insult to injury. I really enjoyed the story with this one simply because it's unique. Two children. Amicia is only 14 years old, so the odds of your exploration and stealth, they're not only elevated, but it's really showing a growing bond between these two characters. Finally, to top it off then, the setting as well, 14th century France. We just don't see it all that often, so it's more than a little refreshing. So gameplay, and essentially this is a stealth exploration adventure with some minor moments of combat and then a dash of loot gathering and crafting. The core of the experience though, it really is move from location to location and figure out a path while fighting either those rats or the Inquisition. The Inquisition, that's going to be more sneaking and using distractions, while the rats are more kind of head-on in their swarm format, and it's really a game there of environmental puzzles, figuring out how do you stay in the light, or how can you distract them long enough to act on your escape plan. Controls here though, simple enough. It's single player first of all. Hugo actually follows you automatically. It's a case though of movement, duck, you can jump around certain items, and then you can also occasionally command Hugo as well, whether that's telling him to stay in a certain spot or asking him to do something on your behalf. So think crawl through a very small hole and unlock a door. Hugo's commands are not the deepest, but they are simple, and a quick tap of the D-pad kicks things into action. Combat wise then, it's mostly a slingshot at hand, which also doubles as a distraction. Say throw it into metal to distract guards with the sound, or knock down meat to bring in the rats. Do not come to this game for combat. It's very much a game of one-hit kills, and you can do little to escape your enemies. 90% of the time even, if you run, they will catch you, and it's back to that last checkpoint, which are thankfully frequent. I rarely took out a guard honestly with a slingshot because first of all, it's just a pain. If they have armor on, you need to hit the latch first of all to remove it. It just takes too long, and after that you still need to land a headshot. The risk versus reward, it just isn't here to make it a viable option, and that's clearly very purposeful. The weakest parts of this game, in fact, are going to be the boss moments where it removes the option for stealth. They just don't fit quite right with the rest of the story here, and they should have just committed to letting you overcome obstacles as you please, rather than almost trapping you in arenas. The rest of the game then is a relatively linear path through what I would call small sandbox locations, while collecting items for upgrades to your sling, your bag, a few other things at very specific workbenches around this world. Come here though for the rats. The Inquisition moments are rewarding as you sneak around this world, but the rats are just incredible as they swarm and climb around you, and this is now elevated with the new 60 frames per second gameplay. The motion has never been better, and the impact of the controls in these moments, torch in hand, just feels absolutely perfect. Throughout as well, I didn't have a single drop in that frame rate, and I very specifically chose this moment in the game to kind of test it out. I wanted to see how the frame rate acted around hundreds and hundreds of rats approaching. Aside from the improved frame rate then, for gameplay they've also added DualSense, and this is a little lacking honestly. It's okay, don't get me wrong, you can feel it in the controller and the triggers. It just doesn't quite deliver on that sense of rats moving around you. I wanted to feel that motion. Instead it's more like small static hits. You don't, like I said, you don't feel almost movement in your hands, and I think that's what they should have aimed for. I also think the creepy sound of the rats, it could have benefited from a little implementation from the DualSense speaker as well. So graphically, it's not a huge upgrade, honestly. We are now, yes, outputting at 4K, but the image isn't a huge noticeable step up. The sharper image adds to the rats in swarms, especially in those darker moments when, detail was lost on other platforms. But otherwise it's just that, really, a resolution bump. Now sure, some extra detail can be spotted in the environment here and there, but it's not quite the leap forward that I had hoped for. It's not like a, it's not a punch in the face of like graphical difference. The game also plays a lot with themes of blurring background elements, especially with camera movement. So I wouldn't say the game really lends itself to the factor of adding almost those big wow moments. Overall, it's basically added minor polish at most, and I've got to say at some moments I even still notice some popping far in the distance at some locations. Fortunately though, look, I love this world and the locations we traverse, and it was still an absolute pleasure to take this journey again. So audio finally, and this is kind of a funny one. The voice acting contained top quality, the environmental effects, great stuff capturing the era, and then the music really like high quality again, and yeah, it just brings the world to life as you would hope, especially in moments of tension or when the rats appear. Their scratching sound especially, it never gets old and it's as creepy as you can imagine. The only real issue I have with audio though, the banter between our two leads, it gets a little bit repetitive as we frequently show concern for Hugo. And it's not that the lines themselves are repeating per se, but rather they just like to repeat the same communication in a slightly different way. So the final verdict, and it's absolutely not the strongest PS5 upgrade we've seen this far. Really, you're coming here more than anything for that locked frame rate. The resolution bump to 4K, it's nice, but graphically, it's not honestly hugely noticeable. Likewise, they've tried their hand at the DualSense, but I wouldn't say it elevates the experience, which is really what I want. I want to feel again that movement of the rats, my enemies, and so on. It's a case of, it's a nice try, but it definitely falls short. Fortunately though, the game itself is still quality. I like the characters outside of that like repetitive dialogue motion they go through. The story is absolutely intriguing and the world is just incredible. Now, would I pay for this upgrade personally if I played it before? Then no, I would not honestly. But as it is, newcomers or those that jump on the initial free PS Plus release, you absolutely should, because it's one of the most unique IPs out there, and now we have a sequel to look forward to where I hope they take what they've learned here and step it up another level, because this world, it more than deserves it. Back at release, this game would have been an easy great 8 out of 10 for me, but looking at this PS5 build exclusively and what it brings to the table, today I'm going with a good 7 out of 10. Will you be adding this one to the library? Have you played it already? If so, let me know what you think in the comments down below. With that then, hit subscribe, join our growing PlayStation family, and I'll see you all on the next video. Thanks everyone.